This will help prepare you to actually start your own business. So, you want to start a business, but you don't have the formal education for it. You might be wondering, can I start my own business? The answer is absolutely. Okay, you don't need an MBA to start your own business. And at my school, at my high school, we have this program called Incubator EDU, where basically students create their own business. And my school has won nationals, gone to nationals routinely. And so I want to share my training with you as we literally are starting our own businesses in Incubator. So, today we'll be talking about stage one or phase one, the ideation process for any business that you want to start. Let's get started. We're going to be tackling four areas here: the problem, the solution, the competitor analysis, and the UVP, unique value proposition. So you can skip around in the chapters below. However, I caution against that because you might lose something important that I talk about in a different section that doesn't come up in the sections you're watching. So recommend watching all of it. Without further ado, let's get started. Number one, the problem. This is your best friend. You have to brainstorm right now. Get a pen and paper out or on your phone or think in your head. What are some pain points that people experience that I experience that maybe I want to fix? What are pain points? Well, they are persistent and recurring problems that people face. Again, just persistent and recurring problems. They happen all the time. They need to be fixed. Let's give you an example for this. So, you know the business Canva, hopefully. And so, Canva is a platform that allows you to design your own templates. It automates designing to make it accessible for even a design beginner to create their own designs for pretty much anything. The problem people were having is that people like me who didn't have any design experience, the only option we had to design anything was to buy something like Adobe Photoshop and pay a lot of money for it and also not be able to navigate it pretty well. What Canva tackled the problem of was me not being able to design anything online because I didn't have the skills and expertise for like Adobe Photoshop and I didn't have the money. So the problem was that it was expensive and it was just difficult and not accessible for anyone to design. That was the problem. So think to yourself, who has this problem? After you figure out your problem, and you want to brainstorm several different situations or problems, maybe even several different solutions for each one of those problems and multiple problems. So don't limit yourself, especially in the ideation stage. But I'm going to assume at this point you've narrowed down to one particular problem. You don't have to. You can just follow this process for every single idea or problem you have. Now let's go to the solution section. Okay, so now you kind of have a problem in mind. What's the solution? Well, first, you can brainstorm for this, or you might already know. It might be really obvious to you. So, if you need to brainstorm, what are the possible solutions to this very prevalent problem? Or if you already know, well, then you're good. Now, I want you to identify two things. One, what is your target market? Who's going to buy this? Like, who has this problem and who is going to potentially buy a product in order to solve their problem? See where I'm getting at? Yep. And the second question I have for you is, what's your competitors? Like, who are your competitors? How many of your competitors are there? Let me give you the example of Canva once again. So, the great thing about Canva was that the niche that they were particularly in was pretty much unexplored. What I mean by that is, like, yes, there's like some Adobe programs, there's Photoshop, but they were trying to tackle the problem to make it easy for any person to design something and make it relatively free so that you don't have to pay a large sum of money for it. Well, who is their target market? Pretty much anyone who wasn't a professional designer who needed to get something designed for free or for cheap or just like doesn't have design skills. Who are their competitors? At this point, they didn't really have proper competitors. Yeah, there's like Photoshop, but they don't have the same target market, right? Think about it. Photoshop is targeted generally towards experienced people, but Canva was specifically for design beginners. And at the time, there was almost nothing. That means they had a really, really wide open market. That's not going to be the case for everyone, but I want you to understand just because some competitor is in your topic doesn't mean that they are your competitor. They could vaguely be, but if you don't have many direct competitors, that's great for you. There is a caution though. Maybe not having many direct competitors means that not a lot of people have the problem that you were discussing earlier that the solution needs to be there for. So we'll actually talk about making sure and validating your problem solution later on in phase 2, but for now just keep that in mind and try to figure out who your direct competitors are or indirect competitors, who is competing specifically for your target market. All right, now let's move on to phase 3, competitor analysis. Okay, so again, we kind of just touched on this. The question I have for you are, what are your competitors doing? Now you've identified them. What are they doing? So research that right now. I know that you might have an idea, but generally speaking, a lot of people don't. So write that down and Google right now. Pause this video, search up what is Adobe Photoshop doing? Whatever your competitor is, whoever they are, research that. And the other question I have for you is, what are the specific features that the competitor has? Because you can build off of that, right? You can choose, okay, I need to differentiate myself from my competitor. So how am I going to do that? You need to add value in some way. You need to ask yourself, how can you differentiate yourself from your competitors? What is different about you? You might not know that yet, but think, based on all my direct competitors, they have X, Y, and Z, but they're missing A, this element. And so that could be what your differentiates you. Again, we'll get into this more when we talk about validating and if this is actually a good idea. But right now, I just want you to ask yourself, what are some things I can do different? And write that down in your notes. If you're done with that, let's move on to part 4, the UVP, unique value proposition. Okay. So here's what you're going to do now. There is this thing called the BMC, Business Model Canvas Template. Search that up right now. Business Model Canvas Template in Google. And you should be able to find images. You'll be able to find potential templates for it. I actually have one linked down via Miro board, and it should be free if you just create a free Miro board account. And you can write on top of the business model canvas template. And so I want you to open that up, and you can even like draw this on a piece of paper. Just search up the image, and you'll be able to fill out almost all parts of the BMC now, because we've talked about almost all of it, but let's walk through it just to make sure you know. Hey everyone, we are back with the BMC, and if you've opened up the Miro board or pretty much any other BMC, you'll see that I have modified it slightly. So I want you to modify it the exact same way I have it right here. Let's break down each of these parts. First, the business model canvas, there's customer problems. This is what you should be focused on here. What recurring problem needs to be solved? Describe it. Next, solutions. What are you doing to make their life easier? Describe some of the characteristics of your solution as well, not just for making an app. What is the app doing specifically? Next, unique value propositions. How will you make your customer's life happier? What makes you unique compared to your competitors? Directly reference how you're going to achieve a leg up against your competitors. Next, customer relationships. How will you connect and interact with your customers? Who are your early adopters going to be when you do the initial testing and validation? Could be friends around you, but they have to fit in your target market. Keep thinking about that. Next, customer segments. Who are your customers? This is also known as target market. Specifically, describe age, potentially gender, nationality, location. Just describe who your customer segment is. Next, we have channels, publicity. How are you going to reach your customers? Social media, for example. Even within social media, there is a variance. If you're trying to reach younger people, TikTok or Instagram may be the way to go. If you're looking at older people, Facebook might be the way to go. LinkedIn could be the way to go. Next, we have cost structure. How much will it cost to actually have the solution and make it? Next, revenue streams. How are you going to actually make income out of your cost? First, how are you going to do that? And two, compare your costs and revenues, what you think that it's going to look like. So this is what it looks like. Please modify whatever BMC you have in front of you according to what I have on my screen. That was all of phase one ideation. So I hope this was informative for you. I hope you feel confident about your first step of starting a business. Look at you, you're entrepreneur. Really, it doesn't matter what age you are, it doesn't matter really anything about your demographic. If you work hard and if you follow these instructions, you should be just fine. And so now you have the idea. My question to you is, how do you know if it works? That is called validation. And that is phase two, which will be coming out as a video to help you out. So if you want to watch that video, click that subscribe button because you'll be notified when I post that video. So without further ado, have a wonderful day and make sure you actually finish all the research I've assigned to you. No, please, no assignments, but make sure you're actually thinking about everything, hopefully filled out the business model canvas before you watch my next video. Have a great day. This is Bye Ramya signing off.